Hey, how you doing today? Welcome once again to the Asian Spirit Love podcast. This is Alex.
Hi, everyone.
And I am Eric. So glad you could join us today. So today we have a topic that is not discussed too often, but we just figured it's something that should be more. It's pretty important.
Yeah.
And it is the lack of role models, especially for Asian men.
Yeah.
Like off the top of your head, can you think of any like true, other than Bruce Lee, like who's an Asian role model that young kids can aspire to be today?
I think just any role models for men, but especially for Asian men, there's very little role models that are out there, to be honest. And I'm sure probably someone can name it, but like in terms of mainstream role models, we don't really have that. Like I think when we were kids, probably like people like Oprah or Martin Luther King were like people that a lot of people looked up to, right? But for this new generation, I feel like it's really difficult because I don't know anyone that would be a good role model nowadays for men or for women.
Well, there's different categories, right? So I suppose when people talk role models, it's a very blanket statement because whatever field that we're interested in, like just we're talking about, say, bodybuilding, right? So say I'm into bodybuilding, of course, Arnold would be my role model. No matter what, I think no matter the age, most people who ever pick up a dumbbell knows who Arnold is, and they aspire to be him. Of course, since then there have been a lot of others, but people always pay respect to the godfather or whoever was the forefather of the sport. And for martial arts, Bruce Lee, everyone knows Bruce Lee, and anyone who's done a second of martial arts or watched any movies would know who Bruce Lee is. So that's like more specialized in terms of just a particular genre. But if you're talking about as a whole, that's a different story about who we can look up to. So
I think you're underestimating how dumb people are sometimes, to be honest. I asked someone who Aaliyah was, because he wore an Aaliyah shirt, and he's like, oh no, my mom got me this. It had some black Leah on it.
What?
And I was like,
and she's pretty cute.
Wow, I love Aaliyah. I still, to this day, Aaliyah can just, But I would turn bisexual for Aaliyah. But yeah, no, it's really interesting. It's a different culture, it's a different community. Not saying all people in this generation don't know, but there are people who don't. And I do think it's difficult because when I talk about role models in this generation, it's difficult. I would say it's extremely. I want to hear from you guys. Who are the role models you would say are role models in this generation? They're mainstream.
Yeah, I mean, you could break it down like so. For Asian men, people would look at a recent movie like Shang-Chi, where maybe not so much the actor himself, but just the role of there's an Asian superhero, on the big screen, which other than Bruce Lee, hasn't happened for a long time, right? So that is something to look up to, and when people see someone who looks like them, who's getting widespread publicity and praised for it, then that is someone that you could say is a role model. But I'm not talking about the actor himself. I don't know too much about him, but just the role of the Shang-Chi.
Well, I think you're right when it comes to actual like action heroes. Of course he'd be one, but as a character as opposed to a person, and I feel like that's really important to acknowledge. Like we don't know much about him individually, but we know a lot about the hero in the role. And I feel like we're looking up to the character as an action hero, though. Like,
that's true. He's not human. I mean, he is human, but not like a regular mortal.
We're not. We don't have his powers. When I think about Bruce Lee, though, the reason why I think that Bruce Lee was a role model and still is a role model, even though he's passed away, is the fact that he was an amazing martial artist, but he was also a philosopher. He always said motivational content. Is it content? He always said motivational things, motivational words, had a different philosophy. And I think, he was wise beyond his years. And I feel like that's something I would like to see in this generation too. I would love to see people be more than just a thirst trap.
Even though he was pretty ripped though.
He's what's interesting about, like, a lot of people talk about it. He still was a small statured man.
My size.
He wasn't doing steroids. He wasn't.
Well, that's up in the air.
Well, I mean, if he was doing steroids, he looked like Arnold. Like that's. I think that he was a very lean toned man, and he wasn't like super bulky. Like he.
Well, there's steroids that can make you rip too. Like not just big So
I don't know enough about steroids, so that's
it's speculation.
Sorry, steroid users. I don't know enough
speculation.
about these illegal drugs that you guys use all the time. But I think that for him, he had more obtainable body size for most people around his height. He was someone who was a philosopher and wise beyond his years, and he did martial arts, and I feel like he did that trio, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like people don't do that nowadays. Like, they either just focus on the image, and that's mainly it. Like, even when I watch social media today, like, with the Kardashians, with all these other things, right? It's mainly focused on there are 10, which is a huge thing going around.
Yeah.
There are 10, but it's mainly focused, there are 10 because they look good, as opposed to they are inspirational. They're motivational. They're intelligent. It's really that they just look really good, and they have the plastic surgery to prove it.
Well, yeah. So I got 2 points. So back to the Bruce Lee thing. For me, Bruce Lee is basically 4 people in one, right? So he is influential in fitness and bodybuilding too. I mean, he wasn't huge, but he is like in the fitness. He has a lot of great ideas on how to, health and fitness. B, a martial artist. C, as a philosopher, because he had really deep thoughts. And 4, as a movie star, as an actor.
Yeah.
So if you split them up into 4 different people, all 4 of those people would be legends, and all of that is into one person. That's what makes him, the timeless, superhero that he is. That to this day, 50 years later, young kids know who he is because he is this timeless. Even though, like you said, he's a small Asian man, people think of him as a larger than life. Like you even see The Rock wearing T-shirts with Bruce Lee on it.
Of course.
In real life, The Rock would have smashed Bruce Lee with one hand, right? But then he looks up.
I don't know. Bruce Lee fights really well.
I know. But
I mean, in terms of the skills, even though in terms of strength, I would definitely give it to The Rock. But in terms of technique,
speed,
everything like that, because he's been known in battle to fight men twice or even 3 times his size.
Yeah, and also the Kardashian thing, like. People downplay, like they think of them as bimbos who don't know what they're doing. They just capitalize on them being airheads. But I think it's all an act. Like a lot of it is, right? They know what they're doing. Like they go on TV just acting stupid, and people watch them. Well, hey, if that's what pays, if I could go act a fool and make some videos, and if people watch that and I get famous for it, shoot, I'll do it, right? Yeah. So a lot of times, like for instance, we mentioned Andrew Tate before, right? Yeah. Like now he got canceled. I don't even know if we can mention his name anymore, but...
you're able to mention his name.
Okay, so he got canceled for saying really controversial, probably over-the-top, stupid things. But he probably calculated this. He knew what he was talking about. He did it on purpose.
Oh, 140%.
Yeah, so sometimes the dumber you act, the more controversial things you say or do, that's what will make you famous. So a lot of people know what they're doing. Like the Cash Me Outside girl. Like, she had 2 paths to go. She could have gone this way and just become a nobody and just be just an afterthought in modern society, but she took the right path and became a multimillionaire and capitalizing on her image and popularity, and to this day she's still just like raking it in. So I have no hate or anything against her. Like you go girl, you can go get that money.
I have no hate towards these people, to be honest, but I do want to say this thing. The reason why it's not obtainable for most people is because what we have to realize is that these people were built into wealth, okay? Not the Catch Me Outside girl, but the Kardashians, right? And these people have advisors that will help give them this advice to capitalize on their looks. They have plastic surgeons. Kim Kardashian already mentioned this. She actually knows surgeons to help her become more famous, to reach that ideal status between Instagram. And for Catch Me Outside girl, yes, I don't think that she's a bad businesswoman. I think she's a smart businesswoman. But here's the deal. Like, if I had her situation, even me, I wouldn't want to do OnlyFans. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the situation, is that...
You said you wouldn't? Or...
No. No, I would not do OnlyFans. But I'm saying that the thing is that she is capitalizing off of OnlyFans based on her fame. But here's the thing. Unless all women are going to do OnlyFans, it's not exactly a role model for all women. I think she's a role model for women who want to be able to get into that industry, right? That's what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with what she's doing. She's capitalizing on her looks, things like that.
Yeah.
But I think that if you're not in that industry, because not every girl wants to be an OnlyFans model,
Yeah.
you know, then you can't look up to her and be like, okay, I wanted to be just like her, or I'm going to take business advice from her. I think that you have to be able to understand that these people have benefits that most of us don't,
Yeah.
right? She was on Dr. Phil.
Yeah.
She still capitalized on that, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people, like you said before, were on Dr. Phil, they still become successful. But with Dr. Phil, she made sure that that road was still going
Yeah.
and full
She
throttle.
milked it to the
milked
fullest.
it. Exactly.
Yeah, which is smart because it
Yeah.
you know, a lot of it is, you know, by accident. Maybe she didn't know exactly what, she just kind of rode the waves to see where it went. But you know, along the way, she made the right decisions to keep herself marketable, keep her name in everyone's mind. And to this day, she's still a household name. Well, not household name, but everyone younger than 30 probably knows who she is.
Yeah.
Right. But then on the flip side, so you take some people from the past before OnlyFans. Remember the Octomom? Remember she had some fame that she tried to do porn, and you know, I don't know how successful that was, but you hardly hear about her anymore. Or there's some girls from Teen Mom, the MTV show. They try to do porn, and you know, to varying levels of success.
Well,
so
as I said before, you know, with these people, if you're not trying to get into that industry, they're not the best people to follow because, again, not every girl wants to go into the route of porn.
yeah, of course, yeah.
Or the route of OnlyFans. So you do have to run a different version of yourself. And again, like, there's not a lot of women or men that are doing that, you know? So I would like to see more men, more women going a route where they're offering other opportunities besides being just a thirst trap. And nothing wrong against being a thirst trap. Nothing wrong with that. But what we have to realize is that not everybody wants to be a thirst trap.
But also, it seems to be more acceptable nowadays that if someone is a porn star or a model, a nude model, whatever, like, we don't bat an eyelash anymore. Maybe 10, 15 years ago,
We will.
like, maybe people would give them the side eye, like, you're doing what? But nowadays, you meet someone, oh, I'm a Instagram model, I'm an OnlyFans, like, people don't think anything of it, right? Like, wow, okay, cool.
I mean, I have straight friends who are straight, but they love showing their butthole on OnlyFans. Like, they're
gay for pay.
Yeah, because they make so much. I mean, gay porn, I know makes. If you're straight but you do gay porn, you make at least like 5 times more than straight porn. So, like, why wouldn't you show off your butthole?
So do the gay guys watching that know the guy is straight, or does that make a difference on whether they like them or not?
Well, I think that even in the gay community, a lot of men like to say they're straight because it's like the forbidden fruit thing. You know, and I'm sure I mean, listen, like pronouns, things like that, everyone has their own sexuality. But I do want to admit that I do think that a lot of men are not actually bi. There's some men that are bi, but there's some men who are not bi. But they say they're bi just to reach that forbidden fruit complex and make guys want them.
Yeah, I guess. And then nowadays it's more acceptable too.
Yeah.
Like, maybe back in the past, 10, 15 years ago, people might be afraid to explore, or you know, maybe some people might find out. Now it's like, it's so open that it's not even a thing anymore. I mean, of course it is, but you know, not as much as before. Each year that passes, it just gets less and less taboo.
Yeah.
And people are just open-minded about it.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. I mean, but I do think that it's interesting to me because I do think that there are some people who specifically utilize it to get more attention, and there's some people who are just naturally like that.
Yeah.
You know? Like, for example, I think that Bad Bunny, he just recently did a video where he was at a concert and he kissed both a guy and a girl. Pulled like a early 2000s Britney Spears situation with Madonna and Christina Aguilera, which is totally fine. And I think he probably is someone that is either bisexual or is open-minded, things like
I'd
that.
assume, because even the name itself, like, what guy calls himself a bunny, right? So you think
I like it. But I do think that there's going to be the situation is going to be there's going to be a lot of people who are going to utilize that as a marketing ploy now that he's done it, he's famous. So that's the interesting part.
Yeah. So I think so on a you know, very small, you know, way, like, that could be something that not that he's a role model just for that, but it's just like some actions that people do that, hey, Bad Bunny is doing that. Maybe it's more acceptable that, you know, that maybe people are willing to try that more in the mainstream.
Yeah. I think again, trying is fine, but purposely doing to get attention, that's another thing. Again, Bad Bunny didn't do it purposely to get attention, but I do feel like people are gonna follow that road and think that they're gonna purposely do it. That's the problem for some people.
Yeah, especially nowadays with the social media generation, people will do it just to get likes or hits. Get views. But,
and that's why I said, like, I started watching social media and I started seeing all these people do thirst traps I've never seen before. And what's interesting to me is that, like, again, if you do thirst traps, beautiful, good for you. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think that's almost like you have to do it. Like, there's this pressure. Like, we even talked before this podcast. Like, what if we did this podcast shirtless? How much attention would that grab?
Well, it's
like,
so hot today.
Would that market out things well? Things like that. So, and even with the whole entire aspect of, like, Asian people, like, there's a huge trend on TikTok about, like, oh, traditionally Asian men are thought of as, like, not muscular, not this, not that, not masculine, and you have all these Asian men now being thirst trapped, which I think is fine. But at the same time, the thing is that, like, if you are thirst trapped, that's great. But if you're not, feeling like you're pressured to take a shirt off, to show your nipples, to show your manhood, like, that's the issue. Because, like, I feel like if you are an Asian nerd, be proud of it. Like, I don't need you to be, like, this toxic, like, I don't care about anyone else besides myself, man.
Because they kind of go so far that they become a douchebag that's showing off.
I see that a lot.
It's not empowering when they're the ones who are showing off. Saying, look at me, I'm better than you now. But I guess maybe it could be in a way they're kind of saying that they got picked on their whole life, or Asian men are marginalized and this and that. Well, look at me, I'm not like that. And so that's the way of empowerment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But it could, when you go too far, it just looks like you're just showing off, and it's not empowering at all.
Yeah, it's fake, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like the problem is, like, when we think about the number 10, like, oh, you're a 10. It's all, especially on social media, it's all based on looks and nothing else. Like, they don't have any emotional capacity for being there for someone. They're not a trustworthy person. They just look really good.
Yeah.
That's a social media 10, is just looking really good, and that's all you need.
Well, it's the same as, like, in dating, right? Like, you have to like the outside package first before you want to explore more.
Yeah.
So you say what you will about personality and everything. You have to like what you see on the outside. The wrapping has to look good.
Yeah.
Like, you do judge the book by its cover, because you're not going to open a book that's boring looking. It's not appealing.
Yeah.
A book could actually be the most terrible book you've ever read, but the cover looks amazing. You're going to pick it up and you're going to read it, right?
Yeah.
But you won't know until you actually pick it up, and you're not going to pick up a boring looking book that is not appealing. So same with humans. Sad to say that this is true. It is superficial, but we as humans, we can't escape that. That's how we are, right?
Well, I think for me, I think for a lot of people, the problem is that, yes, you're right, but looks get you in the door, but personality keeps you there.
Yeah, of course.
So that's the problem, is that people are basing everything on looks, mostly. I would say, like, 99%, and then when you see the personality, they're like, oh shit, I didn't know you had a bad personality. I'm like, what do you mean? You based, like, 99% of a person's worth on their looks. So when you finally see their personality and it's shit, you're surprised.
Well,
what's wrong with you?
It goes to, how people say that you can't have looks and personality or intelligence. So if they're already hot, then you already assume that they have a bad personality. I'm not saying that that's reality, but that's just the way people can logically.
Well, we talked about this before on the last podcast, and we did talk about the fact that I think there is a pressure that if you do look good, a lot of people don't make you try to have a personality.
Yeah.
And there are people who look amazing that have amazing personalities. They're definitely out there, But the problem is that we talked about this before, that people that look great, we set the bar so low for them that's hard for some of them to develop a good personality.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
they already get coddled their whole life.
Yeah, they get coddled. We give them exceptions. I mean, for me, like, so I was with this guy before when I was dating. Okay, well, I'm still dating. I'm still single. What's up? Okay, so anyways, I dated this guy, and he was total fuck shit. Like, he was a liar. He ghosted me all the time. He flaked. He didn't even have good excuses when he had excuses. He was mean. He was inconsiderate. All these things, right? but he looked like what social media calls a 10. So I
put up with all that because he was hot.
Well, the thing is, I told my friends, I'm like, I'm gonna give up on this guy, and they're like, here's the thing, is that it's not just the pressure you have on that person, but also your friends. So I told him, I was like, I'm gonna give up on this guy. You know, like, he's just literally fuck shit. He's not a good person. And they're like, but he looks so amazing. Like, when you guys go out, everyone's jealous of you guys. You know, like, you guys are both good looking guys. Finally, you have someone who compliments you. And I'm like, he doesn't compliment
me. That's a power couple, you would say.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem, too, of social media, is that you see a lot of couples that look good. But they're fuck shit in real life.
Hashtag couple goals.
Yeah, but they're horrible people in real life, you know? And that's the problem. So then, like, all my friends, everything I said, I was like, but he lies so much. They're like, but he looks great. So, like, just give him, like, another day or two, you know? Talk to him about it, give him more chances. And they kept on saying, give him more chances. So all my friends kept on saying that. So I gave him more chances because I was young and I was stupid. And
he never changed.
And he never changed. And I finally gave up on him. But I'm like, if I had just listened to myself and said, listen, I see this person is horrible, you know, I don't care what my friends say, and just leave, that would have been good. But I saw how many chances, how many things we ignored because they look good. And I feel like that's our real situation. There's a lot of people who look great, and we give them excuses all over the place. So I think a part of it is not just them, but we make these people fuck shit.
Well, I mean, that's the stereotype, right? Like, you know, I know countless guys, and myself included, dating some crazy chick, but we make excuses for, oh, she's hot. That's the only reason. That's like her only redeeming quality, right? Oh, yes, she's hot. I put up with it. And she's wild in the sack, whatever, right? That's it. That's pretty much all she has to offer. But to a lot of guys, that's enough, right? They put up with the craziness and just being psycho, but that only goes so far. Like you said, you know, eventually it wears on you, and that is only one small piece of the pie. You need to have, you know, more, like, personality, intelligence, and everything. So, that can only take you so far, and eventually you just have enough of it. So, see you later.
I mean, that's why I keep on saying people have to realize and people have to utilize that looks get you in a door, but personality should keep you there. You know, stop making excuses for a person for lack of personality. You're a human being, I'm a human being, they're a human being. There's no reason why they also can't be a human being, no matter how good they look.
Well, the sad thing is that after you dump them, the next poor sap will scoop them right up and wash, rinse, and repeat. Rather do the same thing, and he'll go.
And they'll wonder why. I don't know why all these men are horrible. You know why they're all horrible? Because you're horrible. You know, either a woman or a man. Like, especially, you know, if you're a gay man and you're like, why am I always single? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I'm like, yeah, it does make sense because no one's told you that you're fuck shit. You know. And I'm going to tell you today, you're fuck shit. And you have to change. It's not just them. It's also you. You are also the problem. You, and they keep on saying, like, well, I'm a 10. There's, like, this person on TikTok that's like, I'm a 10. I don't understand why I keep on having issues in relationships. I'm like, because the thing is that you always come to a relationship assuming that you're always a 10, that you're perfect, and that you can't do any wrong. And you're human. You're going to make mistakes. But it's how we own up to mistakes. It's how we are accountable for mistakes. It's how we work through mistakes that makes us a good person in a relationship. Yeah,
definitely. You have to be more well-rounded. You can't just... Because on the flip side, let's just say someone has a great personality, but they could use a little bit of work on their appearance. See, that can be a detriment too, right? So, of course, we're talking about superficiality being bad, but also you have to put some effort into your own appearance, right? If you dress like a slob, don't comb your hair, like, at least make yourself look more presentable. Then you have more of the full package together to
wipe your ass. You know, that's me and Eric just talked about that. I think a few weeks ago, how there's like this thing where some men
didn't sound right, but go ahead.
I mean, it's true. No, wipe your ass.
No, go ahead.
So, like, I have a friend named Mariposa, and she was telling me her father says this all the time. Like, you know, because he gets a lot of racist comments sometimes.
Oh, really?
He does. Because he is Sudanese.
Oh, wow, okay.
He gets comments, and he's like, well, at least I know how to wipe my ass. He's like, you stinky ass racist people. But it's true.
Really? Like, people are saying racist comments to him. Like this.
It happens sometimes. You know, we live in a crazy world.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I really feel like we have all these issues, you should be clean, because a lot of guys complain about women not being clean down there. I'm like, she can't be clean if you're not clean. Like, she can't be having like the flowery field of flowers, the JJ, and like your ball sack smells like hot sweaty cheese. Like, it's not good.
Yeah, it's kind of double standard. I hear guys complaining about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they don't realize how theirs smells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as a gay man, I'm like, I can smell you from here, so I know that your girl is complaining. So
yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
not you, because he's clean.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. You too. But yeah, so back to the topic about role models. So I think it depends on if you think about role models as celebrities or people who are famous, then that's a different story. But I think you should more have role models that are within your field or your industry. So say I'm aspiring to be a doctor, I can look up to someone. I mean, it's for example, right?
Yeah, no.
Look up to somebody.
Asian dream.
Like someone. Yeah. I know that's the worst example, but just,
no, it's not. It's
okay.
not worse. No. Yeah.
Or it's just whatever field I choose, right? I would look at somebody. Maybe he's not famous. He's a guy in the field who's done amazing things, and I would look up to him and maybe try to learn as much as possible from him, possibly follow his path. And that could be my role model instead of some celebrity in a movie or just somebody on social media who really shouldn't be a role model. They're just more out there and more famous. But you really should follow the people who have carved the path in whatever your passion is, whether it's career or hobby, whatever, right? So say I'm a rock climber, I want to follow Alex Honnold, or whoever is the most accomplished person in that field. And like I said, bodybuilding, right? Arnold, I mean, he's famous, but maybe somebody else who's less famous than him, use him as a role model. He doesn't have to be famous, he doesn't have to be a household name, but to you, he is someone you can idolize, he or her, or he or she. So that's what I say. Like just.
I mean, that's really interesting. I'm glad you brought that up. Is that he or she? Because I think that as a man or a woman, you should be able to have role models, either male role models or female role models.
Yeah.
I don't know why. If I'm a man, I can only have male role models. And also for you women, you can let us know how you feel. But you can also have male role models if you look up to men. Say your dad's a role model. Say your uncle's a role model. You know what I'm saying? So don't say they can't be a role model because they're a man.
A lot of men use their mother as a role model.
There you go. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be about their sex. If a woman is a role model in your life, say that. If the man is a role model in your life, say that. Because like for me, as I said before, like I thought of Oprah as a huge role model for me, and it's great because like I'm doing more social media influence right now, so it really helps me a lot within this aspect. And I like how you said like go to your personal aspects, like who is a role model that's close to you, your friend, your family, people in your industry.
Yeah, so even for instance, like us doing social media, like we do vlogging and other stuff.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of other YouTube channels of traveling, and a lot of the ones I look up to who inspire me are women. Like I love their channels, and like of course I don't live the same life that they do, but just the way they put things together, their personality, just their look on their like the way they approach life. That they're always so positive. That's what inspires me. So it doesn't have to be a guy who's similar to me. It's somebody that I watch and I'm inspired by them. So a lot of them are women, and it just happened to be that way. It's not like I purposely watch their videos because they're women, but I just happen to gravitate towards. Or us doing the podcast, right? Like we could find whoever's a famous podcaster, and we could try to not necessarily emulate them, but just see what they're doing right, and then we could kind of use that, and then of course add our own personal flair to it. So the important thing is never to copy somebody, but just use their guide on how they became successful.
Well, I think that they always like everyone's influenced, and I really want to say it because there's so many podcasts that are like, oh, I'm the original. I'm like, no, you learned from someone else. And I feel like we're not copying each other, but we're all learning how to grow and build each other up, and I feel like that's really important. So like this whole entire like, oh, I did it first. I'm like, no, you didn't. Sorry, not sorry.
Podcasting is just kind of like a modern version of like being a news reporter or interviewer, like even like TV shows like Johnny Carson, whatever has been around for so long. Then that's like the original, right? And then it just kind of evolved into what it is now, where any random schmoes can create a podcast and be, like a broadcaster, right?
Yeah.
So,
I think the final thing I'll say about this one, because I know we're about to end right now, is that I agree with you in terms of what you said about like looking, like you don't have to always look towards movie stars or influencers. Look at people in your personal life. I think that was a really good point you brought up earlier. I also think that I want to encourage people to learn how to be role models in social media as well. You know, because I feel like we don't have enough, if any at all, to be honest. And we have to do more than just be a thirst trap to everyone else. If you are, great, but that's not a role model situation. I just think that we have to realize how to do better society and have more real role models out there. So that's the only thing I'll say about that.
Well, one thing I'll say is I forgot to mention this earlier is that the role of BTS has been playing for Asian men. Like I mean, you laugh at it, but then somehow because of that, the appearance of Korean and Asian men, people's perspective of them perspective of them has changed for the better, right? So, now you see more Caucasian and other ethnicity women more willing to date Asian men because BTS has now become this sex
I do like
symbol.
Rap Monster from BTS, so I'm like, what? Actually, I'm not saying you're a complete role model, Rap Monster, but you are kind of hot, and I like your personality, so yeah.
So he has it all. He is a 10.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I think that's also one thing, even though it's like the last, I really just want us to understand that 10s, we have something that 10s are just based on looks, especially on TikTok. Everyone that's saying they're a 10 on TikTok, at least not everyone, but most people that say they're a 10 on TikTok are just basing things on their looks.
Yeah.
They're flexing their muscles, they're winking at the camera, they're licking their lips and saying, I'm a 10. And I'm like, you have to realize that looks do not make you a 10 alone, okay? Learn how to develop your personality and emotionally be there for people. Learn how to be trustworthy, considerate, compassionate, and have perseverance. That's a real 10. It's not just physically, but physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Those are a trinity that you should have to be a real 10. If someone's just basing being a 10 on looks, you're not a 10.
Well, it should be like, remember those old G.I. Joes on the back? They have the stats.
Yeah.
See, one category is a 10, something else is a 5. So you should have, like, that's hypothetically, say there are 10 different categories.
Yeah.
Like looks, personality, drive, net worth, whatever, right? Just any arbitrary 10. You add those up to see their score. So we'll just say, very blanket numbers, we'll say 10 categories of 10.
Yeah.
If it adds up to 65, right? That is your score, right? So maybe the person who is 10 in looks is a 2 in personality, or I'm not saying they're all like that. I'm just using a very vague example.
Some are like that. Yeah. Some are like that.
So who that they get dinged on that, but maybe something else they get. Maybe they're very wealthy, so they get an 8 or 9. So it just, you add up those 10 things, and that should be the score of every human. Kind of like that social score thing, like Black Swan or whatever, right?
Yeah. So well, the thing about the G.I. Joes, at least we know they're plastic. Okay? So you guys who are not plastic, you should know better. Okay? It's not just about your looks.
Well, people are a lot more plastic than we know.
Yeah.
So.
Or silicone, No shame on those who use plastic surgery. But I think that's good for the podcast. Just want to say thank you for being here. We support you. We love you. And let us know in the comments below, what are your feelings towards this podcast? And also, who are the role models in your life? And we'll talk to you guys all later. Bye, everyone.
Okay, that was a good one. We made it short and sweet.